Welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is episode number 7. On today's show, we will have an interview with Bale Brewing of Yakima, our brew news and views, and to start the show, let's open a Bastard Cat IPA by Kulshan Brewing of Bellingham.
Kulshan is a 15-barrel brewery on James Street in Bellingham. They have a lovely tap room you can come and visit, as well as a dartboard and a nice little sitting area.
Okay, this is a 6.66% alcohol ABV. Now, let's see. According to this, they use a 2-row Munich and honey malt. For hops, they have Apollo, Palisade, Cascade. It's 70 IBUs. And like I said, 6.66%. Bastard Cat. I'm sure that there's a reason why that's all together like that. This has a good citrusy smell, nice golden color, and we're going to have ourselves a sip.
Kulshan describes their Bastard Cat IPA as being brewed with passion and precision. It's an American-style West Coast IPA with prolific, full hop flavor and aroma predicated upon the citrus notes of the Cascade hop. Bastard Cat IPA is the perfect beer to pair with rich foods, where the hop bitterness will clear the palate. Think juicy steaks, braised pork, or grilled salmon. Bastard Cat can also stand up to the heat of the most fiery Asian, Indian, or Mexican dishes. Stinky soft cheeses are natural with hoppy IPAs.
Yeah, that's a good IPA. I like that one. Alrighty, now let's go on to our news and views. There's a handful of new brewery news to report. In late February, Outer Planet Craft Brewery opened its doors in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle. Outer Planet has a 3-barrel system brewing multiple styles of beer. Now, if you're gluten-free, beer is one of those luxuries you can't have. But Ghost Fish Brewing is hoping to change that. They opened their doors in early February, a few blocks south of Safeco Field in Seattle. Ghost Fish offers Washington's widest variety of draft gluten-free pizza and lots of gluten-free pizza and gluten-free beer. Sounds like a perfect marriage. Their flagship beers are Watch Standard Stout, Vanishing Point Pale Ale, and Shrouded Summit Wit Beer. The brewery used Kickstarter to fund their pilot system. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. If you're gluten-free, check them out and let us know what you think. And lastly, Counterbalance Brewing Company officially opened its doors and launched distribution on February 4th. Their core beers are, quote, flavor-forward yet accessible and well-balanced, unquote. Counterbalance is located in the Georgetown neighborhood of Seattle and has a 10-barrel brewing system. They offer a wide variety of beers in their taproom, which is kid-friendly, but no pets allowed. Food trucks will be on hand at times, and outside food is welcome.
It's that time of year again, all you Washington brewers. Specialty Competitions LLC announced that registration for the 2015 Washington Beer Awards is now open. The competition is only open to breweries that produce and sell Washington beer. In 2014, over 460 beers in 100 styles entered the competition from 70 breweries. Obviously, that's just a drop in the bucket, as there's more than 3 times that many breweries in the state. In 2014, more than 100 medals were presented. The 2015 competition added additional categories and will recognize Breweries of the Year and Best Washington Agricultural Product Inspired Beer. Also, a Pro-Am category was added to recognize collaborations between home brewers and professional brewers. Registration started March 1st and goes through March 30th. The winners will be announced at the Washington Brewers Festival in mid-June.
All right, the fallout from the Anheuser-Busch InBev purchase of Seattle's Elysian Brewing will take some time to determine its final effects. Now, the most recent one is the eventual departure of brewer Steve Luke, known as the guy who created Pumpkin Peach Ale and other experimental brews. During an interview with NewSchoolBeer.com, Luke said he formed Cloudburst Brewing in January 2014, and Elysian knew of his final intentions. After the AB buyout, he said it, quote, kicked me into high gear with finding a location and getting the ball rolling a bit faster, unquote. He purchased Silver City's old 10-barrel brewhouse. He has a dozen silent partners, but he is the boss. The brewery is located 2 blocks north of Pike Place Market and will just have a tasting room. Steve gets the keys to his place April 1st, and we're looking forward to seeing what he brews up in the future. Until that time, he is busy brewing beer at Elysian Fields.
This Saturday, March 7th, Machine House Brewery celebrates its 2-year anniversary with tons of fun. The party runs from 3 to 8 p.m. at 5804 Airport Way in Seattle. There will be cask rolling relay races, live music, a food truck, and, of course, lots of great beer. It's all ages, and your pooch is welcome too. In other news, Engine House No. 9 in Tacoma announced last week plans to expand their existing brewery fermentation capabilities and create a new barrel storage facility. The first phase will be the Barrel House addition at the Stadium District. They believe they will have the first barrel house in the state. The increased fermentation will allow them to increase distribution of kegs throughout Western Washington, which they began last year. There will be barrel space for higher gravity beers like imperial stouts and barley wines. Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you've not yet subscribed to our broadcast, why not do it now? It's free, available on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and other sites. And if you like us, a review and rating is always appreciated.
Yes, it is. Now, one thing I wanted to mention was last week I was out of town because I went back to my home of Buffalo to promote my new book, Buffalo Beer. While I was there, I hung out with my co-author, Ethan Cox, who is one of the founders of Community Beer Works, and we hung out in his brewery for a while, and we also visited Resurgence Brewing, which is a really nice place. And since I've left 2 years ago, the number of breweries there has more than doubled, so it's becoming, the East Coast is finally waking up to the craft beer movement. Now, we're going to try another beer. This time, I am trying the IPA by American Brewing Company of Edmonds. It's a 6.2 ABV.
The American Brewing Company opened their brewery in January of 2011 and started brewing immediately. Their trademark creation is their Breakaway IPA. They are one of the few publicly traded craft breweries in Washington.
And this beer has a cool can on it, but this IPA obviously has to do with their public offering for their stock, but there's really nothing else on the can.
The American Brewing Company says they brewed this Indian Pale Ale to be the kind of IPA that you can enjoy drinking without getting that bitter beer face. A clear and light straw-colored ale with delicately blended Cascade and Chinook hops. Crisp, light-bodied, and refreshing.
It definitely fits that color, but we may have gotten a bad one here because the flavor is not very good. So I'm not going to blame it on them. I'm going to blame it on possibly a bad can of beer. Anyhow, that happens. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk with Kevin Smith and Kevin Quinn of Bale Brewing in Yakima. We are talking to two of the owners of Bale Brewing in Yakima. This is Kevin Smith and Kevin Quinn. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
We're doing awesome. Good. So why don't you tell me, you guys are related, right?
Yeah, we're brother-in-laws.
Okay. And the brewery is on a farm, right?
Yep.
Okay, so why don't you tell me how that began with the brewery on the farm there?
The brewery, we built the brewery in a hop field on my family's hop farm. My father and brother run our hop farm, and it was started back in 1932 by my great-grandparents. And so we're now into our, fourth generation on the farm. So my brother and dad run the day-to-day operations out there. And then my sister, Kevin Quinn, and myself, we all were interested in starting a brewery out here, and had talked to my brother and dad, and they were willing to take down a couple acres, and we all went in and decided to build a brewery out in the middle of one of the hop fields out here. And so we finally got the doors open in April of 2013.
Awesome. That's a very cool story. So, continuing that family tradition there of entrepreneurship too. So, who's the head brewer?
I'm the head brewer, Kevin Smith here, and then Kevin Quinn's also one of our brewers, and he's in charge of our sales and distribution.
Okay. So, what type of beers do you guys specialize in?
We specialize in hop-forward beers. Our two year-round beers are our Field 41 Pale Ale, which is a 4.5%, 38 IBU Pale Ale that we dry hop at the same rate as our IPA. Field 41 is the field that we knocked down 3 acres on to build the brewery. So the Field 41 used to be about an 8-acre Cascade field, and now it's about 15 acres of Cascade. So the Pale Ale is named after the field the brewery is located in. And then our second year-round beer is our Top Cutter IPA. Good, West Coast, Northwest style IPA. We don't like a lot of residual sweetness in our beer. We make pretty dry beers, and it's also good, clean bitterness and a lot of late addition and dry hopping with Citra and Tannum.
Okay, very cool. So, what size system are you guys running?
We're brewing right now on a 30-barrel system built by Metalcraft Fabrication down in Portland. It's we've also got a 12-barrel hop back on it, so it's a little bit oversized for what we necessarily use it for, but it comes in handy when we're brewing fresh hop beers, which is something that we really like to do during hop harvest and stuff. But right now, we're on a 30-barrel system. We have 7 90-barrel fermenters, a 30-barrel fermenter, and a 60-barrel fermenter.
Okay.
So we got a couple more 90s on the way this spring, and then we'll basically be out of room at that point. And
so what really drove you guys to start a brewery?
We'd all, had a passion for brewing and stuff. Being the hop farm over the last 15 to 20 years has really kind of changed in terms of selling our hops off the farm, going more and more to the craft brewing industry, and now it's about 85% or so of the 950 acres that was harvested last year ends up in the hands of craft brewers. So we got a chance to meet a lot of craft brewers and brewery owners through the hop selection every fall. We'd all like to come out and even when we weren't all living here, and visit the farm during harvest. So you got to meet brewers, and then we started going to the craft brewing conferences because the Farm Loftus Ranches is part of the Brewers Association as well. And so, when you're around people that are in the craft brewing industry, it's such a cool industry and great people. We kind of started thinking about it, and definitely Megan and my wife Megan and Kevin's sister wanted to get back, to Yakima and do something kind of close to the family business. And their older brother Pat was already back, and he's going to end up taking over the farm from Mike when Mike ends up retiring, which will probably be never. But we just kind of started thinking about and developing this idea of building a brewery on the hop farm. And Kevin, after he graduated from college, ended up getting a job at Two Beers Brewing in Seattle and ended up working his way up to a brewer. And Megan was working at a small winery when we were living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, as well as doing some consulting and stuff. And I was in sales and development of restaurant franchise. So we kind of thought that our kind of collective skills and kind of background would, work well in setting up this new business. And then, also we kind of looked at it and we don't know any other breweries, definitely in the U.S. that are, commercial craft brewery on a commercial hop farm. And so we thought that was like a really cool story, and, kind of angle and stuff to do it. But ultimately it was just kind of the love of hops and craft brewing that kind of led us to jump into this venture.
Okay. Now, were any of you homebrewers before?
Yeah, we all homebrewed as well. When Megan and I were living in Coeur d'Alene, we were brewing quite a bit, homebrewing, and then obviously Kevin homebrewed before he actually, was brewing commercially.
Okay. Now, how many barrels per year do you see outputting?
Last year, our first full year in business, we did just over 7,000 barrels. And this year it'll probably be, it'll be definitely north of 10,000 barrels this year. We just launched into Southwest Washington with 2 new distributors to cover Southwest Washington. So they just both of them picked up their first shipments last week. So, this week our beer is now available in the entire state of Washington for the first time. So now our distribution footprint's the entire state of Washington and the 5 northern counties of Idaho.
Okay.
But yeah.
Now, is that just keg, or do you have bottles or cans?
No, we also can our beer. So right now, or I guess in 2014, it was about a 50-50 split between cans and draft. And so Field 41 Pale Ale and Top Cutter IPA are the only 2 beers that we can right now. All of our seasonals are draft only. But yeah, and we're in all the bottle shops in the state, and then a lot of the Safeways, Fred Meyer's, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, PCC, Albertsons.
Okay.
Most of the grocery stores. That's something that we like to focus on. Is the canned product. It's something that we like. It's a good way to get our beer out to a lot of people who may not normally see it on draft. And so yeah, that's definitely something that we'll continue to focus on is canning our beer as we grow.
Do you know what the first beer was that you brewed? Well, which was the first beer that you brewed? Well, how about for the brewery? What was the first one you worked on?
Well, we during the construction of the brewery, which started in 2012, August of 2012, the farm has a Sabco Brew Magic, and so Kevin and I brewed a lot of batches on that, and we were dialing in the recipe for the Field 41 Pale Ale and the Top Cutter IPA. So I don't really know which one we brewed first, probably the IPA, but we did a number of batches, and then we were tweaking the recipe and doing blind taste tests with the whole family and other friends that we had here, and just dialing in the recipe, and we'd change one thing, brew it, do a blind taste test, kind of sit down and look at the comments we made about the beer, and then brew another batch, and then do another blind taste test. And so we did that over probably the first 5 or 6 months that we were here. And then once we kind of got dialed in on what we thought the recipes were going to be, we then focused on trying to make sure we could, consistently brew, our top cutter and 41 recipes to taste the same. So then we started blind taste testing like different batches to make sure they were tasting the same. But we brewed a lot of 10-gallon batches to get those 2 recipes dialed in for sure.
So how many different beers do you brew on a regular basis?
At any given time, we like to try to have about 4 beers that we offer. But we only have the 2 year-round beers, and then we always try to have seasonal and then maybe a limited release beer that's out. Right now, our seasonal is High Camp. It's a winter warmer, basically a double IPA with rye and chocolate malt. And then our limited release is called Kiln Series number 3. It's a small batch run of a double IPA. But last year, I think we brewed about 12 different beers. We have a dry hop blonde that we have during the summer. Every year for fresh hops, we'll do at least 2 different fresh hop beers. And then when our 30-barrel fermenters open and some of us are wanting to get creative, we'll just make a limited release beer. And so our limited release kind of series we just call Kiln Series. And so that just kind of is a small batch run, something we really won't duplicate again, just kind of get it out, keep the brewers creative, and be able to have a beer that we can offer to bars that usually carry the top cutter of the 41 and kind of get them something new and fresh every now and then.
But you're not trying to be everything for everyone. You're trying to keep it kind of simple.
Yeah.
I mean, right now as we're, a new brewery, like establishing ourselves, we want to kind of stay true to the brand and the brand that we're building and our story. And so, and ultimately we brew the type of beers we like the best, which happens to be, hop forward beers. So sticking in that realm we think is the best for us. And then we think if we can, focus on, 2 beers or, 3 beers and do them really well, that when we do our limited release stuff or seasonal beers, if people think our year-round beers are of high quality, it makes it easy for us and our distributors to sell those one-off beers and stuff. So, yeah, we definitely want to focus on the 2 beers, the Field 41 and the Top Cutter, and then supplement that with some seasonal offerings and a one-off every once in a while, when just to kind of supplement those brands.
Now, do either of you, other than having a do you either have a favorite beer that you like? I mean, is the Field 41 the one that really you both go for?
My favorite would probably be Top Cutter. That's our flagship. We sell about 65% of what we produce is Top Cutter.
Okay.
We probably drink more Field 41 because it's lower alcohol. But that's probably Top Cutter. Top Cutter is about 65% of our sales. Field 41 is about 30%. And then, the few, seasonal and one-off beers that we do only makes up about 5%, or at least last year only made up about 5% of our total production.
Okay. I keep going. I always go back and forth on it, but so that's pretty accurate. We love Top Cutter. That was kind of our baby when we were developing the recipes, but it's nice if you're going to sit around and have a couple of beers, 41 stuff, and one to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys entered any competitions?
No, not really. I guess the Washington Beer Awards is basically the only competition that we've entered. Just some of the festivals. We haven't put our beer out into GABF or World Beer Cup yet. Not really that we have anything against it, but the last couple of years, GABF has fallen on the same weekend as Fresh Alcohol Festival in Yakima. So we just delivered already to wrap up our to be a part of. And so hopefully here when, maybe this year or next year or something like that, once if GABF falls on a different weekend and we can send some people over to it, we'd definitely like to throw our 2 beers over there and see how they judge it out.
Definitely. So you do, other than the local festival, do you plan on doing any other festivals in the state?
Yeah, we'll do a few of them. We actually do quite a few. I mean, over on the west side of the state, we definitely do the Father's Day festival over in Marymore. That's a big one. And then we definitely try to support the local festivals over here in Eastern Washington and Central and Eastern Washington and Northern Idaho as well. Supporting kind of our own backyard. We like to see these festivals be successful and stuff. But then we definitely try to pick festivals we think will help us. We like to do them in new markets that we're in, also existing markets that we're in. But it's definitely a good way to get a lot of people to sample our product. We'll also be doing the Hops and Props Festival here at the end of the month in Seattle. So we definitely use the festivals as part of kind of our sales plan to and to expose more people to our beer.
Makes sense. Who came up, or how did the name for the brewery come about?
Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, we went through a couple different names that we were out, and we came into which a lot of new breweries, I'm sure, came in and figured out that we would probably have some copyright infringement with a few beers, or excuse me, a few names that we had kind of made it into our final step, and then the hops leave the hop farm in roughly 200-pound bales, and we were trying to think of a way to maybe incorporate that into like a beer series or something, and then I can't remember, one of us said, can we, should we try to use Bale in the name of the beer? And then so we started, in the name of the brewery instead of just the name of the beer. And then we all started, throwing out names, but we couldn't really, just plain Bale didn't really work. We needed something else. And then I think it was Pat and Mike, I think, were coming back from something, and Pat sent out an email and said, how about Bale Breaker? And we liked it. It was, kind of an aggressive name. We make like aggressive hop-forward beers. Bale Breaker is also the first piece of equipment that the bales of hops hit when they go into the hop processing facilities. It's also kind of, symbolic of what we're doing, where we're taking the hops that Mike and Pat grow, and now we're kind of using them in beer and breaking the bales and making beer out of them. So we were pretty disappointed when the first couple names we figured out weren't going to work, but then we landed on Bale Breaker, and we now kind of laugh. It's like, can't believe we wanted to name it anything else but Bale Breaker. It seems so fitting now, but it took us a long time to figure out a name, probably close to a year.
Yeah, especially now with so many breweries and so many beer names, it's getting even harder.
Yeah, and then you got to worry about your wineries and the distilleries and the names on beer and wine and liquor. I mean, it was definitely difficult.
Yeah. So What do you guys see for the future for the brewery?
I think that, especially the way the industry is going right now, there's a lot of growth to be had. For us, I think we see definitely growth to max out our brew house. We really just want to focus, at least right now, on the Pacific Northwest. That's all of our homes, and that's one of the best regions in the world to sell beer in. And so that's definitely our home market, and it always will be. And so we're just hoping to make as high quality beer as possible, push it around the Northwest, and hopefully here we'll be able to bring out a couple new year-round beers and be able to put them in cans and get those out distributed around the Northwest as well.
Yeah, we've never, one of the things we always wanted to focus on and keep in mind is, we don't want to we want to be smart, slow growth and not, make sure we're being controlled and managed in our growth and not outgrowing our, production capability and not, ever straining kind of the production side of things. And we just want to focus on beer quality and, slow, controlled growth. We didn't expand into any territories for 12 months. We kept our original distribution footprint for a full 12 months before we expanded into Seattle last April. And so, it's smart, controlled growth, and we want to be as deep as we can in our existing territories before we expand. And I guess we'll kind of cross those growth bridges when we get there. But as long as we can keep the beer, we just want to keep the beer quality up. I don't know where that's gonna. We don't really know for certain where that's going to lead us in terms of final size of the brewery, but we want to focus on the Northwest and Washington and Idaho and see where that takes us.
Well, it sounds like you've got smart business ideas there to grow the brewery, especially trying to hone in on the right beers and in your market before you try to grow too big.
Yeah, and even our distributor partners really like the idea too. What they've found is, the more beer you sell, in your home markets, in your home states, as you then slowly start growing out there, they seem to do better as you start growing your distribution footprint. And so for us, just focusing on Washington and northern Idaho for now, and growing our brand, in our home state is what we're going to focus on, and then we'll see what happens. But like Kevin said, we're dropping in 2 more 90-barrel tanks at the end of March, and that will fill out our existing cellar that we have too. So that's not going to leave a lot of room for increasing any more distribution footprint.
Awesome. Well, Kevin Smith and Kevin Quinn of Bale Brewing, thank you very much for joining us today, and good luck in your brewery.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you to Kevin Smith and Kevin Quinn of Bale Brewing. Great interview. Great to hear what they're doing out there, and we're definitely looking to see what happens out there in the future. Now, we at Northwest Brew Talk are on the hunt for the best pizza in the Western Washington area. Do we have any recommendations? We're waiting to hear from you for that. And also, what is the best beer in Washington to go with pizza? If you know one, if you're a brewer, let us know, because we definitely want to know. Now, that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
But make sure you tune in next week, because we're going to sit down and have a chat with Steam Plant Brewing.
This show is produced and edited by me, with engineering help from Michelle Rizzo.
If you want to contact us, we're on Twitter and Facebook at NW Brew Talk, or you can always email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com, or give us a call at 541-595-TALK. That's 541-595-8255.
Until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay happy, my friends.